Calling all Stu's Wrestling Podcast fans, this is your opportunity to help out Stu. Vote for Stu's Wrestling Podcast in the BBC Sounds Listener's Choice Awards. Head to www.britishpodcastawards.com. The winner will be announced on Saturday, the 11th of July, 2020 at the British Podcast Awards. Don't forget to smack down a vote for Stu's Wrestling Podcast before midday, 6th of July. You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast, established 2019. Direct from the North Wales coast, his verbal skills definitely outweigh his wrestling ability. It's time for British Wrestling's sharpshooter, your host, Stu Palmer.
Warm welcome. This is episode 35 with Sha Samuels, still on the UK train. And just before I introduce the episode, I want to say thank you to everyone for listening and watching across all the platforms, especially Apple. We're consistently hitting the top 50. Now, we were 38th last week at peak. We've hit 41st today with Ricky Knight Jr.'s episode. So an absolutely heartfelt thank you to all the listeners and viewers, all the followers across social media, wherever you get us and wherever you're listening and viewing. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. Right, back to Sha Samuels, episode 35. Sha's been around the business for many, many years. Colourful character. Absolute great guys. You'll see we had a great time on this one. Sha's been on the UK scene and the European scene for many, many years. So obviously we're going to hear about how it was years ago through the tough times in the business. He does allude to the fact that they were getting booked, but obviously the way the business is now, and obviously so many places to work for the guys, especially for young guys. He talks about his favourite guys on the scene at the moment. He talks about when he first started watching wrestling. We hit a myriad of topics. What a pleasure it was to get him on. So here we are, the East End Butcher, Sha Samuels, episode 35. Enjoy. Right, my guest for Stu's Wrestling Podcast, and we are back in the UK. We are going down south.
Down south, you mug. Well, technically east.
Okay, yeah, like the east. It is the East End Butcher, Sha Samuels. What a pleasure to get you on.
You all right, mate? Good.
What a pleasure to get you on, man. I tell you.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me. I'm enjoying. I never usually do podcasts. So I've done a handful in my time, and I wasn't gonna. I've had so many requests to do them, because of lockdown. And I was like, nah. I'm just gonna stay out of wrestling. I'm not gonna do anything. I don't want to. I'm just gonna stand back and not just have a break from everything. And then I did, because Grado does a podcast called Wrestling Daft, and he had me on the other week. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. We had a good time. And as soon as I finished recording it, you messaged me. So, and I was like, I had such a good time doing that. And you were like, I'm not joking. Within 5 minutes of me recording Wrestling Daft with Grado, and we had a great chat. And I was like, I might as well do some more of these podcasts. You messaged me within 5 minutes. It's like, maybe it's meant to be.
Do you know what?
So I was like, yeah, I'll do it, mate. And we had a chat about it, and I thought, I'm going to do it.
You know what, mate? It is. I think it's just right place, right time, with everything.
I doubt I would, I'll be honest, cause I'm not really one to do podcasts, but I reckon I had such a good time there. I'll be honest with you, maybe if I didn't do that podcast, I maybe wouldn't have done, but I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate you having me, mate. Really do.
I've been a big fan of yours for from afar for many, many years, mate. Really, what you've done for the UK scene, especially when it was on its arse. Obviously, I've heard a lot. It was on its arse.
It was. Yeah, it wasn't when we all started. There's the core group of us back then. There wasn't really nothing to aim for. Being honest, WWE was unless you look like someone like Drew or Sheamus, you ain't leaving, you ain't going there, right? That was the consensus. We was like, fair enough. And there was not a big promotion here to aim for, really. There was a lot of work. You had holiday camps, you had all-star wrestling, you had all this work, but nothing that could get you on such a worldwide stage to aim for. But it didn't matter to us. We wanted to make a credible UK scene again, because we had a great scene many, many years ago when it was on ITV, the original World of Sport and stuff. And we didn't have a scene here to be proud of. Being honest with you, it fell on its arse, didn't it? But we all worked hard. We just wanted a credible scene, and we got that. And there was, look at all the stuff that came up. I remember it was about 2014, 2016. You had Progress Wrestling, you had Rev Pro, you had ICW, even PCW. There were so many great promotions, like, and everyone wanted to come here and wrestle. And off the back of that, it kind of got popular with people to go. It's cool to go to a wrestling show. And then you had ITV's like, right, let's bring World of Sport back. Then you had WWE, let's put a brand here, let's make NXT UK here. All because of the hard work. I'm not saying it's all down to us, but it's everyone, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Everyone, from the fans, the people backstage, referee, everyone to give collective effort, make this scene special. So it's something I'm proud of, considering where it was. So I reckon we're such a stable wrestling community now that I think we've got nothing to worry about. Even this COVID-19 is not going to kill the scene here. We're going to be fine.
Sure. I want to scoot way back now, right?
Oh, see if I can remember. I'm old and grey now. You notice I'm grey? So let's see if I can remember.
You've got a family. You've got a family in that, man. That's probably partly.
Yeah, see, I ain't got to worry about my looks anymore.
When did you first begin watching wrestling? I always open with it.
My first memory of wrestling, right, it was Earthquake squashing Hulk Hogan. Right, I was around my uncle's. He had Sky. I didn't have Sky. So I go around my uncle's, and he had wrestling. So all the boys would go around there, all the cousins would go around. Let's watch wrestling. Because wrestling was huge, but it was very hard to watch it, right? So I'll never forget seeing the Earthquake sit on Hulk Hogan on the Superstars or something. So that was my first foray into wrestling, and I've not stopped watching it since. Even when it wasn't cool to watch it, I watched it. You know, stuck with it, loved it.
I feel you. I feel you on that one, man. I've just kept from 1990 onwards.
Yeah, I would say yeah. So about 5.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad to think how long we've been watching it, and you obviously partake in it professionally.
Yeah, I mean that's a funny story. I got into actually, what luck, chance, right? I know that's going to be one of your questions, how I got into training, right? So I might as well transition into that now. I mean, if you want to hear how I trained to become a wrestler was, I saw someone with a rock tattoo in my sixth form college. He had a rock tattoo here. I was like, he likes wrestling, right? So I was going to talk to him about wrestling. I was like, I can see you're a wrestling fan. You like The Rock. He's like, yeah. I'm trained to be a wrestler as well. What do you mean trained to be a wrestler? There's training schools here. What do you mean? What do you mean? We can train to become a wrestler. So it wasn't me seeing that guy have a rock tattoo, and he took me to the training school. I wouldn't be doing this now. That's crazy.
It's mad. It's mad to think, man. Who? Just going back, I want to scoot back a bit again. Who did you grab? Who pulled you in? You said about Earthquake, Hogan. Which guys?
Well, I've always been whoever was on top was the guy I liked. I've never been the guy to be like, I always cheered the top baby faces. So it was Hogan, then it was Bret Hart, then it was Diesel. Big fan of Diesel. Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, The Rock. They're all in that order. As you can see, they were the top guys. So they're the guys I gravitated towards. But I mean, Hogan was a huge. Like now I can appreciate it being a wrestler, but you look like as a kid, the reason you liked him, you're seeing this big mountain of a man getting beaten up, and he made you care. Like he had no shame. He'd take a beating, and you cared about him. You know, he's this big man, but he didn't matter because he drew you in. He's selling. It's beautiful. You know.
Which events? Sorry, Shaw. What were you going to say?
I was going to say then it was like Bret Hart. He had the smaller guys. Bret Hart.
Oh man.
Yeah, Bret Hart was just like you cared about him so much. Then there's suddenly this big guy like Diesel would be on the screen, and he was cool as fuck. I mean, I can swear, right? He was cool as fuck.
Say what you like, Shaw. You can swear expletives. You can do your expletives on this show, pal. Don't you worry. Which guys do you think could have bared fruit who didn't get, like, say, the Intercontinental title or the World title in the 90s? Which guys do you think should have gone up further than they did?
Well, I think it's, I don't know. I think back then, championships meant different things. Like now, championships, they're treated as real championships. Like everyone like shows off to have a championship. They parade all their belts and stuff. I mean, back then it was like, it's not about championships. It's about getting people in the venue. And like, so you had Jake Roberts. Like people say he should have been Intercontinental champion. People say Roddy Piper should have been world champion. But I think it wouldn't have added anything different because people still paid their money. It's a different mentality. I reckon if they were around now, they would have got all the belts. Jake Roberts would have been like a 10-time world champion. Roddy Piper would have won all the belts. But I think it's just back then, the belts didn't mean as much. I mean, they meant a lot more, but I'm talking in the sense of people feel like you need a belt to be a good wrestler. Whereas it's like the best wrestlers didn't need the belts, if that makes sense. So, but I would say people are surprised Jake Roberts didn't win a belt. I mean, that's a big one for me, Jake Roberts. Oh, yeah.
Character driven though, Sha.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, characters didn't need it. $1 Million Man didn't need it.
No.
No, he didn't need it. Mr. Perfect should have been world champion, but looking at this kind of stuff, and he was never world champion, you know. So I just reckon it was just the guys were so big and larger than life. They didn't need championships to make them seem like stars. And it's not a knock on what wrestling is now. I reckon the culture of wrestling there wasn't. They weren't fans. They were businessmen. Whereas we're all fans. We got into the business. So when we win a championship, we're all proud. Like, so it's an accomplishment. Does that make sense?
Of course. No, that's clear, man. No, that's well explained. And yeah, absolutely. Which pay-per-views and events stood out for you on the wrestling calendar?
Always Royal Rumble, and Survivor Series. I was always a big fan as a kid of. I love the gimmicks in like the 4-on-4, or the 5-on-5, or the Royal Rumble match. I mean, I could watch wrestling matches all day long, but they were so special and unique. Them cards, the Royal Rumble and the Survivor Series, because they were unique. That had and then the King of the Ring tournament, because it was a tournament, because they had gimmicks running through the whole show. It was something that was they were special for me growing up.
That's cool. Right, back to you a bit now. I know you've obviously skirted around it a little bit about the origins and you starting your career. When did training begin and where did you train?
2002. It started March 2002? No, February 2002. And it was Dropkicks Wrestling Academy in Perfect, which was run by Frank Reimer and Tony Scarlo. Tony Scarlo was a legendary World of Sport wrestler. And Frank Reimer, I think, wasn't like he never worked on TV, but he was a wrestler. And they had a lot of great coaches from the World of Sport era that came down. You had Steve Gray, Mal Sanders, Mel Stewart, who else do you have? Wayne Bridges, I think, recently passed away. Unfortunately, he
terrible.
He took quite a few seminars for us. I mean, and these are all like, as in actual old men, like who have lived and been around the business for 30, 40 years. But I think that's a privilege learning from guys like that. I mean, so that was a good take. I was lucky in that respect. But then from there, after, because you needed to learn from younger guys, I learned from like Greg Burridge, like, because even though he's only a year in more than me, that 1 year he'd worked so much, so looked up to him. Yeah, Alex Shane, another guy. He had the FWA, so he knew what he was talking about. He's another guy I learned from. Then obviously you learn from all the boys you're training with. So I'm training. These are the people I all trained with. And like Marty Stone wrestler was Danny Burch, Marty Skull. Obviously you had Burridge. Who else? I don't even know Terry Fraser. He's another great wrestler. Paul Robinson. I mean, just them like we all learned from each other. So we all trained together, doing shows together. We're all learning from each other. So I'm picking stuff up from them. They're picking stuff up from me. So that all counts as well.
That's a good array of names there from the scene. I was going to say, like, who did you learn the most from training? I know you've touched upon it.
Yeah, I mean, but you learn more by doing shows, trial and error. So, like I said, this is the thing is now, there's a lot of pressure on the guys that are new to wrestling now because the shows are a bigger standard and there's more eyes on them. So if you fuck up and make a mistake, there's going to be a bigger backlash, right? Whereas you can do shows when the scene was, and there's 50, 60 people in the crowd, I could try something out. And if it's a success, I can put that in my repertoire and carry that on going forward. Where if it fucks up, no one knows. So I can have a lot more trial and error. So every weekend we're resting, Friday, Saturday, or whatever. Rarely a big show with any internet presence or anything gets out. So we're trying stuff out as well. So we're learning on the job kind of thing, which is very hard to do now because every show has got Twitter feeds, GIFs, an on-demand service. There's eyes on them. So it's hard for trial and error.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So we learned on the shows as well.
Yeah, it was a perfect time for you, wasn't it? Then by the sounds of it,
it's all that stuff because we're constantly thinking of stuff. What will get over? What will make it? What will improve the show? What would improve me as a wrestler? All this thought going into us elevated the scene. So it was really important. I mean, you got to think about all the guys as well. So that was just our little crew of guys, the guys I mentioned.
Yeah,
that came out of drop kicks. And you had the Midlands boys, Spud, with Drake Maverick, Dave Mastiff, guys like that. Jack Storm, I don't know if you met, he's another phenomenal wrestler. Luke Phoenix, I mean, he's not around anymore. Then you had Yeston Reese. There's so many names I'm trying to think in my head. But it comes coming to blank now, but there's so many guys that were T-Bone, another guy was.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Rampage Brown, fuck, that guy.
We've got to have Rampage in there, man.
Yeah, Rampage is the best. Right, Rampage to me to this day is the best. I look up to him. All the boys look up to him. I would say he's an unofficial leader of the British wrestling scene. I reckon a lot of the boys go up to him for advice, any problems, critique. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, because I've been doing it for a long time, but I still want critique. I go to Rampage Brown. I go to anyone. But Rampage is the guy, the man, and we're lucky we had him. This amount of time, these amount of years.
That's cool. When and where was your first match?
2003. So I trained for over a year before I had my first match. And my gimmick was, it was a different time. So obviously I used they they gave me an Arabian gimmick, kind of like Sabu or the Iron Sheik. And so I wrestled the Sheik, Shah Hussein, and it was in March 2003. And it was a rounds match. I mean, it was a very traditional rounds match and stuff, like old school British. So that was my first match, 2003.
How did you craft your move set in the early days, Shah?
Well, I reckon my move set was a lot more when you're starting off, because you got to remember, you're still, as you're resting every week. You're not doing that many shows, but say instead of doing like 12 a month, that is the general consensus now. If you're an indie wrestler, right, it's 12 a month is a lot, right? Back then, max you're doing is six a month, and that's peak, like you're busy. But you're still going training, and you're trying new moves out. So your move set is changing all the time, especially early on. Then you realise, it's not the moves that get over. The moves are not the thing. It's the person doing the move. So I could do any move and you can get the same reaction. It's me doing it. That's what I learned, and I think that's a lesson for everyone. Because people think it's the move that gets you over. It's not. It's you. It's your character. It's the person doing the move.
Who did you enjoy facing?
Well, early on or just in general?
Yeah. We'll go into the more present day in a bit. I think back in the early noughties.
I was mainly a tag team wrestler, and because there was a gap in the market, right? So there was no tag teams coming out of the UK. And Terry Fraser, the guy I mentioned before, I tagged with him for about 7 years. We tagged a lot. So we would tag, and it would be us two mainly against guys like Mastiff and who wrestlers Dave Morales back then, and Jack Storm. They were good matches. This is probably early in the careers, because this is before I did ICW. This is before Rev Pro came about, before anything big happened. So they're the matches I enjoy. I enjoy working with guys like Dave Mastiff and Jack Storm. I even worked with Spud a few times. I like working with Spud.
It's just like you literally look at all them guys you've listed there and the different styles you can come up against.
I remember we had a funny match in I don't know how long you've been a fan. Do you know about Orpington Hall shows? About 2005, 2006?
Orpington Hall, I'm not very familiar with. I'll be honest.
There's this one match. It was me and Terry against Spud and Luke Phoenix. And the crowd was packed, man. One of the busiest shows we've ever done at that time. And for some reason, Terry threw up. He vomited in the match. What's going on here? Why is he being sick? But because he was sick, Spud was sick. They're sick everywhere. They're sick all around the ring or outside. They're going to dive into the sick. I'm like, this is insane. But I think this is one of the chants that always stuck with me. We got a holy sick chant, which kind of made me laugh.
I've never heard about talent being sick in the ring, Sha?
I've been sick. I mean, I was injured. I got injured this December at Rev Pro. I did a moonsault, and unfortunately, I missed the intended targets, and because I hurt myself, it was such a shock. You're sick, you know. So that was. It happens, man. A lot of people hide it as well, or they're about to be sick, and they just swallow it. People, it happens. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. That was a different answer for me. That well, that was where else? Like, you know, obviously, if we go a bit more present, where else? Yeah. Whatever promotions you've wrestled for, and then obviously some of the guys that you've really enjoyed facing. If we go more present,
that was what I was talking about previous. Right now, my favourite opponent's Grado. We're meant to wrestle all the time. That's because of ICW. ICW. I started working in 2014, and they're one of the top promotions. I mean, they were peak then. I mean, other people realise how big they were. I mean, they still are. They're still a big deal, but they were huge. They were around Scotland. They were big. We drew 7,000, you know, at a venue. That is a big time. Yeah. So, working Grado. I love tagging with Jack Jester, which I do now. I love that so much. Working Rev Pro, obviously, is huge. I mean, they give me a lot of big matches, a lot of big opportunities on the New Japan shows. Because I work for Rev Pro, it made me be able to work Ring of Honor in York Hall. So I got to thank Andy Quillen, who's given me a lot of opportunities. Same with Mark Dallas for ICW. Them two are two promoters that have really had my back. Fludder is another one for PCW. A lot of good fun for him. I mean, well, there's just so many places, but I'd say they're the top three that really looked after me.
Is wrestling fixed? I didn't know it was broken. This is Bill Apter. And in my book, titled Is Wrestling Fixed? I Didn't Know It Was Broken, you can find out all the backstage stories. What is Vince McMahon really like? What's Triple H really like? How about my relationship through the years with Ric Flair, the American Dream, Jerry the King Lawler, and much more? Go right now to Amazon.com or any place you buy your books and look for Is Wrestling Fixed? I Didn't Know It Was Broken by Bill Apter. See you at the matches.
GTG, often imitated but never duplicated. Kind of broad at the shoulder, narrow at the hip. No other promotion give us any lip. We the best of the best, the beast of the East. SOS, simply out of sight. GTG.
When he said, good times guaranteed.
Right, keeping it topical, present. What was it like doing World of Sport on ITV, the reboot? How was that for you?
Oh, right. It's good. I like this question because it got slagged. People slagged it, and everyone has their opinion. And we're first and foremost, we're wrestlers. We know if something's not good, and sometimes there's things that we're not in power of, have to take control of. But just realise the achievement that was.
Yeah.
We managed to get British wrestling on ITV, the same channel that has the X Factor. Britain's Got Talent. Good Morning Britain. That was huge for British wrestling. That first pilot was amazing. December 2016, New Year's Eve. Filming that was, and I thought that was an amazing show. I got slagged for the camera scenes, but again, what we didn't realise was that on ITV, you can't show certain amount of strikes to the head because it's they're aiming it at children. But we wasn't told this, so all the edits and the cutaways was because they couldn't show what was going on in the ring. But I thought the pilot was amazing. It had an amazing roster. We had JR working. It was at Media City in Manchester, which was phenomenal to do and to stay there for a couple of days. So the series was great as well, but the experience wasn't as good as the pilot in respect was because we're filming 10 episodes in 3 days, which was hard. It was also, they had the show set out and mapped out, and there wasn't much room for us to be like, that doesn't make sense, do this, we should be doing this. And also, who the fuck are we in general set to tell an ITV executive, this is how you should do your television program? I've got no credentials to say that. I may be doing wrestling for a long time, but I don't feel like I've got the credentials to go up to someone who's been doing TV for a long amount of time and say, I think this is not good. I don't think this will work. But, you know, not got no power in that respect. Because there was stuff we was asked to do. I was like, oh, if they're trying to attract wrestling fans won't like this. But maybe they know what they're doing because they're trying to attract a different audience, you know? The Britain's Got Talent audience, the X Factor audience. I think that was the goal.
I'll hold my hands up with the camera, Steph. I'll hold my hands up. I was critical of it, but when I read
it was as well, because it was annoying. It ruins the flow.
As a show, from a fan standpoint now, not a worker standpoint, superb. But when I found out that ITV were producing it, that's when I knew that, right, this isn't someone wrestling. They're being told, they're being stiff. Yeah,
it wasn't. We had no say. We just well, they paid up. It's their show, you know. As much as it was an achievement, but we felt like, look, if we can just do what they say and work hard, and on this first series, if we get a second series, which we were under the impression we'll do about 5 of these, all right? We're gonna if we do well in this first series, maybe they'll trust us and listen to us more. So in the second series, we'll be like, mate, do this, do that. We'll get more confidence in that respect. And the ratings, you know, we get slagged for the ratings. This is what makes me laugh. But we're getting 1 million a week.
Yeah.
Right? A million a week on the TV show.
Yeah.
Plus the iPlayer or the ITV Hub. We've got emails every week. Right, it's got the lowest we did weekly was 800,000. Now let me ask you, there's 2 wrestling shows that having a ratings war right now in America, with 4 times as many people in their country, and everyone's doing this to them for their ratings, but we're crushing them, you know. But we get slagged off for our ratings. It doesn't make sense to me. I reckon fans wanted to hate this, no matter what, which is fine, you know. At the end of the day, I think it was aimed at the fans that we had garnered in British wrestling, because I reckon they really wanted to get that mainstream family kind of Butlins, Haven, you know, kind of cheesy audience that love X Factor, to go to Dancing on Ice. You know, they want that. They want that. And I felt like wrestling fans have all the wrestling in the world. They've got independent wrestling. They've got WWE. They've got New Japan. Not every wrestling needs to be catered towards them. That makes sense. So it shouldn't have mattered to them that this wasn't their cup of tea. I just didn't think it was nice that they were so vocal about slagging it. It wasn't nice to see. And and even to this day, I feel like I get reservations about posting about it, because I'm proud of it. Because, like I said to you, getting from where we started, I remember wrestling in front of 4 people and a dog. All right? From that to wrestling on ITV in front of millions of people, potentially, is a big, big, beautiful story and an achievement for British wrestling. And we can never, the people on the pilot and the people on the series can never really truly celebrate that, because as soon as you tweet a picture or a throwback Thursday or whatever, people will slag it. You know, I mean, I think I tweeted about the Blackpool show because a fan. I spoke about this on the podcast with Big Grado, and I was very open and honest as I am now with you. And someone listened to it, said he was at the Blackpool show, and he said it was amazing. And I was like, thank you. I'm quote tweeting that, and I'm going to share the footage from that show to show people how great it was and could have been. So it's a shame nothing happened. More happened. Who knows? They've got the rights to the show. They could come back in a couple of years with another series. You never know. If it wasn't for them doing that pilot, I mean, I always think WWE have plans to expand in as many countries they can, in Japan, in Mexico, wherever, all around Europe. They're going to put NXTs. I think that was always the plan. But I reckon when they saw ITV put that pilot on, they accelerated that plan.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It sparked a match. Which is good for the scene. And it's good for... Yeah, and it's good because a lot of my friends, a lot of my close friends, a lot of my best friends work there now. So I'm happy that people are making a living out of this and doing well.
Yeah.
And, you know, long may it continue.
I just think, like, it had more legs in it, that show. And like you're saying, if it was hitting 800,000 to 1 million... And
that was the lowest. I mean, like, it was 1 million. That was the average. If first episode with the pilot got 1.6 million, right?
Yeah.
That's more people watched that than what's it called? WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's mental, right?
Yeah. When you put it like that, yeah.
But then, the first episode back, the series got 1.2, which is still good. Then from there, it fluctuated between 800 and 1 million. So on average, it was 1 million a week for 10 weeks.
Viewing has changed with the advent of internet. It's a total different ballgame now. Your figures, there's that much stuff you can watch now. Even like soaps. Soaps don't get what they used to get.
Your phone. You grab your phone and you're watching something.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily TV. And you can even record shows. So if you wanted to record a wrestling show, that doesn't count towards the ratings. So if another 100,000 people recorded that episode, it doesn't count towards the ratings.
Which is daft.
Yeah.
It should be taken into consideration.
We don't know the true number.
I was watching an old video, Sha, and I'd never seen it before. This is me doing my research and my bits and bobs that I do. And it was a video of you on Good Morning Britain. Now, I didn't see it. But you're on there with El Ligero, and you're on there with good old Zach Gibson. And it did make me chuckle, man. It was good.
Good. Well, that was funny, right? It's when there's another funny story. Like, I'm nervous about doing this. Like, you want me to go on Good Morning Britain? And like, I don't know what to do. I'm nervous. It's live. It's early morning. I might swear. You just never know. And I remember Grado, who's done a lot of TV, he goes, get in there. As soon as you get into that building, be loud, have a laugh with the camera guys, the makeup ladies, and it will just, they will laugh. And they'll give you confidence to go out there. And it worked. So I just got in there with, I'm Sha Samuels, high-fiving the camera guys, flirting with the makeup ladies. I think Diversity were there. No, the dance group Diversity.
Yeah.
Their tour or something. And the little one with the afro was there. And I was like, hello, mate. You all right? How are you? And he had a laugh with me as well. So that was fun. And we did the show. And it's all impromptu. We've not prepared anything. So they ended up doing a kick. Ligero did a kick on Gibson. He landed in the Christmas tree, which was quite funny. But what I found funny was I ended up kicking off with the weatherman. I don't know if it's in the clip on YouTube. Me and the weatherman started kicking off with each other, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I got a lot of great feedback with that.
So the nerves dissipated, like when
as soon as I'm loud, nerves go, because even before a match, you get nervous. You need something to take the nerves away, and I think being loud, being my gimmick, kind of takes the nerves away. You get what I mean? So I'm not, I'm loud, but I'm not, that big Larry person that I portray.
Crank it up to 11, Sha, when you're wrestling.
Sometimes 30.
Right. I thought 11. Would be high.
No, I got way up higher. There's more numbers than 11.
We'll call it. That's my new thing. That now, when I'm loud and the missus is bollocking me, I'm on 30.
Yeah, I'm on 30.
It'll be over her head. Right? But yeah, I'll try it. Right. Which guys in the UK scene in the present do you think are destined for greatness that haven't quite got there yet?
Well, a lot of these guys, like, so Rampage Brown, first of all.
Yeah.
I reckon Joe Coffey.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Noam Dar. I mean, they're already in WWE, but I reckon they're going to, get
propel themselves to the top.
Yeah. Kenny Williams. I don't know if you're aware of Kenny Williams. He works for NXT UK as well.
Seen a lot.
He's going to be a big star. I mean, I've always been a big fan of him. Who else? Down south. OJMO. Love him. He's going to be phenomenal. I'm a big fan of Kafka. Do you know Kafka?
Who's that, mate?
Kafka. He works down south. His name's Kafka. He works down south.
No, that's the first.
He's a good worker. He's going to be good. Great character. Unbelievable charisma. Who else is there? There's a tag team called the NIC. You heard of them? They work for Progress. They're great. Connor Mills, great. I mean, these are just a lot of young guys. I mean, I've only got to know them. I mean, the first batch of names I know for many, many years. But the second batch, from OJMO down, I know them because I started teaching at Knuckle Locks. And I've got to know them, working more shows down south. And they're going to be a lot of great talent coming through. A lot of great talent.
That's a good array. Obviously, I knew most of them, to be fair. It was just that last couple. But
again, a lot of them aren't only a year or 2 years in.
Yeah. Right. OJMO, you're not the first person. A lot of people, a lot of the guys, a lot of the young kids that are training and doing shows up in North Wales and the Northwest, they are raving about OJMO.
Hey, he's phenomenal. He's absolutely. I mean, I've never seen. I'm a big fan of like selling. Right, as a babyface, you take a beating. You got to be selling. Right. He wrestled Pac, right, for Rev Pro, and my God, it was 30 minutes. Right, it's 30-minute time limit. This is why I love that Rev Pro brought back time limits because it added so much drama. So they've started up slow. Everyone's going, Pac's going to win this. Pac's going to win this. Pac's winning this. 15 minutes. Pac's still going to win this. OJ Moment said, they'll come back, get it beaten. Now they're on like 29 minutes, right? It's going to be a draw. Crowd's going crazy. And he's doing this saying, can he hang on? Can he hang on for a minute? Gets the win. Pac gets the win, 1, 2, 3. But that drama at that last minute, it was like, 1 minute remaining, 1 minute remaining. The crowd wanted, like, it was a beautiful, beautiful match. And he ended up winning the Super J, with the British J Cup for Rev Pro. It was good. He recently won the Rev Pro Cruiserweight Championship. He's had a lot of big matches for Progress. I mean, I know I don't work for Progress, but I know he's been involved in matches with Walter and stuff. He had a match with Eddie Dennis, I believe, recently, which is meant to be really, really good. So, yeah, I mean, he's had a good match. I saw him have a good match with Robbie X as well. Robbie X, another great guy.
Incredible.
Adam Max, like, these are coming to me now. Adam Max says another guy is going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Nathan Cruz is one of the best professional wrestlers we have in the UK. I'm sorry, I don't know why I still mentioned him. I mean, there's a lot, but there's so much talent. I mean, we're talking about there's enough talent for 2 shows. We've got enough talent here to have 3 proper wrestling brands easily.
Yeah. If
you had NXT UK, IC World of Sport come back, and 1 more for good luck, we can fill about 3 decent rosters easily in this country. I mean, just
they're all distinctive. All them guys are distinctive and original as well, and that's the key. It's standing out, isn't it? Because we've seen so many gimmicks over the year. It's standing out, and like you say, they're all. And
everyone knows who they are. Like you said, like Nathan Cruz knows who he is.
Yeah,
and he goes out there, knows what he has to do, and is just phenomenal worker. And I don't know if I mentioned my tag partner, Jack Jester. Right?
You've got to get Jack in there, man.
Yeah, Jack Jester. I love him to bits. Love him to bits, and he's under. I reckon he's underrated and underappreciated. He's been in it a long, long time as well. And people see, his eccentric gimmick he used to do, or he's done a few hardcore matches. But the people understand he doesn't do garbage matches. The hardcore matches he did made sense. There was a story behind them, and he made them more impactful. He did a barbed wire match with Drew McIntyre. I mean, in Glasgow one time, and it wasn't just silly bumps. It made sense. It was such a beautiful, beautiful match. And now me tagging with Jester. And he had such a serious gimmick, and I had this serious gimmick. And when we tagged together, now we're doing well at the old comedy. Let's just put it like that. And we never thought we could. And we bring that out of each other. And I reckon that's added another dynamic to my wrestling. And I know that I've got something in my back pocket. If I need to be funny, I'm confident enough I can be funny, and that's because of Jack Jester. He brought something out of me in that respect. So I can't not mention Jack Jester.
You've got to mention him.
I owe him a lot, and he's
cool.
Such phenomenal talent, and he deserves all the success, and I hope he gets it.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, that was a blessing in a lot of ways, Drew getting released and ending up back in the UK, and obviously he did well on Impact, didn't he? Great. It was great for the guys coming through wrestling Drew, wasn't it, when he came back?
Mate, it wasn't for Drew's. So 2014, he comes back, right? We're on the verge of this boom, right, in the UK. We all worked hard, and now he was the one thing we were missing. Because we needed him. He worked everywhere, anywhere and everywhere. He worked with everyone and anyone, and he made he pulled you up to his level. He was, like, in hindsight, I know that's kind of like how Flair was in the 80s. If you wasn't that good, on the night you worked Flair, you were good. If you weren't good, but the night you worked Drew, you were good. Because Drew would make you work. I remember I worked him a couple of times. And it's nerve-wracking experience. He's an intense guy to work. And you just know he's that much better than everyone. He's the world champion. He's the WWE champion right now. Of course, he's the man. But when he... what was I going to say? So when you would work him, he would bring you up. And once he brings you up, you drop a little bit, but you're still kind of more up than you was. So every time you wrestle Drew, you're better than you were before you wrestled him. So that carried on. And he wrestled everyone. So everyone's game elevated because of Drew.
Got a funny story to tell you here. So I was at WrestleMania Fan Access And it was 29, so it was 2013. He was a part of 3MB, I think.
Was that New York, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the first one at MetLife. And he was doing a signing, and they did it at the arena that year. They put like tiered stuff in the seating, and they did the convention there. Drew is there. Drew's there in his Rangers top. I go rooting around in my wallet because I didn't have anything. There was no paper to sign on his desk. I don't know why. I pull out my Everton fan card. I was like, Drew, you've got to sign it, mate. He was laughing. I had him laughing. I was like, Drew, this is all I've got. And I've lost the bloody fan card. It'll probably worth a few quid now.
Oh, that would be good. What such a unique thing to get signed, your Everton card. That's funny.
I thought he was going to say no. What advice do you have for new talent coming through? What are Sha Samuels' veteran tips?
Patience. Patience is key. Wrestling is a marathon. It's not a sprint. See what annoys me, right? People see other people get these opportunities. And they're like, what about me? And they get disheartened, and they get bitter, they get jealous, they get angry. You don't want that inside of you. You don't want to be. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Just worry about yourself, because there's always ways to make you get better. And if you work hard and you be patient, you will get an opportunity. Because I'm saying be patient. We all had to wait 12, 13 years till we had a big match that got any kind of, publicity. So if we weren't patient, we all just went, sod this. We wouldn't get anywhere. So I use it. OJMO is a guy. I'm not saying this is happening. So if a young wrestler sees him, it's like, I'll be doing it the same amount of times as him. Why am I not getting the opportunities he's getting? Be patient, all right? Be patient, because your opportunity will come. Everyone gets a crack at the whip, and it's up to you when that time comes. You're the one that's got to perform and make sure your time comes. So just be patient. Is pretty much everyone gets an opportunity in this job.
Sound advice. Do you know what? I'll take that in with. I know it's a separate thing. I'll take this in my podcast as well.
Yeah, mate, you should, because you know what? Another thing, consistency. Right? Sometimes, even if if you do a bad episode, still publish it. Be consistent with it, because if you do this weekly, or whenever you do your podcast, I mean, it is weekly, right?
At the moment, mate, just obviously with how things are.
Try and keep it up. I mean, even if you're always try and be consistent with your content, because that's what I learned when I did Mug of the Week, right? Even sometimes I didn't have no topic, I just have to fucking pluck one from my head, because I knew I had to put one out there, because I said I'm doing it every Tuesday. So even if you haven't got a guest, do a 15-minute video rounding up what's going on in wrestling or your views on wrestling. Then the more even you do a show by yourself without a wrestler, just speak for 15 minutes on a show. If you haven't got a guest, it's just an idea. Yeah. Then you'll always have content out there, and you'll build your podcast brand. It's patience, man. It might take a few years, for you to get as big as you want to get doing this. But there's legs in it, mate.
I'm not arrogant or anything like that. I'm down to earth. I'm grounded. What I'm finding is, obviously at the moment especially, it's saturated because everyone's off work.
Mate,
totally
agree.
Every person, and I knew it was coming. I've only been doing mine since last January, so I'm 18 months in. But they'll go. They'll be gone once we're all back to normal.
That's what I mean. Right, another thing, it's going to sound bad, but wrestling as well. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of guys quit, because there's going to be a time. Wrestling now, when wrestling comes back, we're not going to have fans. We're going to have to rely from. A lot of them will be streamed. I got the feeling they're going to be streamed on YouTube, and we're going to depend on donations from people, or they're going to be pay-per-view events, as in the streaming live. That's the next phase of wrestling, right? So I reckon a lot of the guys maybe ain't ready for wrestling in front of nobody, so they'll drift off. So the strong will survive, and if you committed and you want this, like you said, you know people are going to drop this off because it's just a stopgap for them to do something while they're in lockdown. But if you've done this before lockdown, chances are you're going to do it after lockdown. I reckon people will drift off and stop. But mate, I'm not going to lie to you. I even thought about doing a podcast.
Yeah, you could do one. You could definitely do one because you got character.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it, but mate, this is again, I just know, I wouldn't want to commit to it without. No. I like to commit to it, because like you said, like yourself, you've invested in that mic you got there.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. You do your research all week. You know, I can't really. I mean, I'd like to talk and stuff. I reckon I'm a better guest
Yeah.
than I would be.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, I had the idea of doing a podcast because I was doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I reckon you're right. A lot of the guys will fade off, but if you stick with it, mate, sky's the limit.
We're doing all right. We're in the top 100 on Apple in the UK.
That's a big achievement, man. How many podcasts are there?
There's
now?
thousands, mate. It's ridiculous.
Thousands. You're in the top 100?
Austin, Bruce Pritchard, Sean Mooney's does well on there. So it's all the American ones.
Yeah.
It's all the American.
I listen to podcasts every night before I go to bed. I used to watch TV, but I put a podcast on my phone. I mean, yesterday I put JR's one.
Brilliant.
I like Grilling JR, Jim Cornette's, both of Jim Cornette's, obviously Bruce Pritchard. I like Ian Anderson's one. Ian Anderson's one, especially the one that answers questions every week. It's interesting, and I reckon that's, podcasting is great, and I reckon it is the future of all entertainment. And that's another thing. I got into watching Joe Rogan during lockdown on YouTube and stuff. So, which I can see why podcasting has to come off, because there's no restraints. No one's telling us what to say. Like, you're asking me questions, but no one's in your ear going, ask this question, go down this road. It's your creative freedom, and it's my creative freedom to answer your question. And that's what makes podcasting really good. And you release the videos, obviously, as well.
It's an open forum. It's an open forum, Sha.
The YouTube, which is really, this is what makes it stand out as well. Because I prefer watching the Joe Rogan podcast, or there's another one called The Fighter and the Kid. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't heard of that.
It's good. It's funny, right?
Yeah.
It's just two guys sitting in a chair. One used to be in MMA in the UFC, and I'd rather watch that than listen to it. So people would like, again, I know you're posting them. Be consistent with it. Keep posting them. Yeah. It takes time, Like, I put my Mug of the Weeks on YouTube, and they do well on Twitter. I don't do well on YouTube, but still put them on there. Because one day, if it takes off, mate, people will look at your archive.
That's it, man. Yeah. Sure. I've got a closing out question that I've told you about. I told you about this on Twitter previous.
You did. You messaged me, yeah.
Richard Youngie.
I know Richard Young, yeah.
BWR. Now you, mate, were a bit worse.
I'll be honest about that show. I can't remember that show. I had a few, cocktails, I was on first. What do you want me to do?
He said you just wanted to sleep, apparently. And he said you're worse for wear. So I said, I've got to ask him. I said, I know Sha will answer me.
Yeah.
It's just laughing. He made me laugh. I was just, he's doing a podcast with Steve Knight. It's really good.
Is he? Yeah. I mean, Steve Knight messaged me, I think more or less at the start of lockdown. And then just before the start of lockdown, about March. This one wasn't really taking it well. Nobody spoke about the injury and stuff. So I said, nah, I'm not really interested. But maybe I have a lot of respect for Steve Knight. Knight. He's a very knowledgeable guy. Actually, when I was a trainee, still it's wrestling, but still a trainee, he was working for the FWA, Stevie Knight. And I think he was the first professional wrestler I've ever seen in the UK that was just genuinely entertaining, funny, hilarious. So a lot of time for Steve Knight, and he's a great mind. Unfortunately, there's a lot of guys. I think the generation just before us. I know my generation, all the guys get a lot of the praise for how well British wrestling is doing, but it's not fair to the guys that before us. I'm talking about the guys. Robbie Brookside, huge reason why we're doing so well. Brookside,
unbelievable.
Doug Williams,
incredible
Johnny
guy.
Storm, Johnny Storm. And I felt Mark Sloan's another guy. It's very important.
Yeah. Remember Sloan very well.
And it's just like I felt like Stevie Knight's in that group as well. They just missed it. They're still part of it. They're still part of the scene. But I feel like they're the true heroes, because they're the guys that just started before us and truly cleared away all the shit and made a path for us to sprint down and run with it. I mean, especially Doug Williams is Doug, Johnny, and Jody are the three guys. And Roy Brookside got a frame in that. James Mason's another guy. These guys are so important to British wrestling and British wrestling history, because they truly stuck with it. Because they're in a darker time than us. But the reason I say we saw it bad, because they at least still had All-Star. They had the Butlins run, they had the camps. They were very busy, whereas we didn't have an indie scene, quote unquote. But they're the true heroes. But they passed the baton to us, and we took it as well. We ran with it.
That's nice. That was a nice answer, that, mate. Paying homage to the
homage, man.
Generation
always
before.
pay homage to the people before you. Because if you same with you in the podcast, man, it's got to be someone you inspired you to be like, right, I'm doing a podcast. You got all because the people before you who put a podcast motivated you to do it. You always got to say thanks to them. Wasn't for them, you wouldn't be there with that mic right now. So it's the same with us. You got to pay respect to the guys before.
Sha, lastly, just to close out, it's not a question, just something you can do for me, for the editor. Plug the socials, mate, and if you've got merchandise available, plug away. Okay,
so you want to just reel off all my social media?
Yeah.
All right, you can find me at Sha Samuels on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook.com/Sha Samuels UK. And if you want to support me, I know times are tough, ShaSamuels.BigCartel.com. I got t-shirts, I got side pictures, I've got all sorts. Even got stickers. Hey, you want stickers of my ugly mug around your ass? Go on ShaSamuels.BigCartel.com.
Like Del Boy.
Maybe that's my next gimmick.
Tell you what, just a shame it was filmed in Bristol.
No, breaks me heart, mate. Breaks me heart.
What a show. Right, the East End Butcher.
Thank you very much for having me, Stu. Good luck with everything.
Sha Samuels.
And you know what? Once you take off, you have me back on your show. All right?
I will. No problem.
Hey?
A big thank you to Stephen Ash and Ed Dowling for producing the track. It's Stu's Wrestling Podcast, the theme. So thank you very much for that, lads. Much appreciated. Love it. It fits really well, so cheers. Thanks to you. Big thank you to Mike Angus for the show intro, as always. Superb. Chris Dutton, thank you very much for editing once again. Appreciate it, buddy. And also to Lee, who does my website. Lee puts the stuff up on the website. Without you guys, I'd be screwed. So once again, as always, appreciate everything you do for me and the time you spend doing the things you do for me. It means a lot, guys.